This is Buffalo's Uncensored Sports Show. You're watching Buffalo After Dark.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, February 26th. I don't know what the hell just happened with our show intro because apparently it didn't even show up online, but hey, we're actually here, so it's alright. Technical glitch. We can always fix that on the edit, but how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you this week?
Doing good. I'm actually surprised. It's like for some reason our usual stuff and our sponsored intro apparently didn't play like it's supposed to. So good old XSplit shit the bed again.
That's strange.
Yeah, but the rest of the stuff actually shows up fine. It's kind of funny. It played our theme music, so I mean we know that works at least.
Yeah, for certain. And as you know, I'm working on developing a new theme song, which I hope it comes out by September.
Right. No, I know. I got you. We're gonna freshen up a couple things here. I mean, we did the logo change this year, and I mean, did some graphics changes. Obviously, we'll make a couple of other tweaks, but it's all good. Shit, season 6 already next year.
Right? It's crazy.
All right. Who would have thought a pandemic show would have lasted this long?
Right? I have to be kind of grateful about the pandemic from 2020 because without the pandemic, I don't think we would be sitting here talking about what we do now.
Probably not. I don't know what we would have done actually, but who knows? It's just some interesting stuff. But good thing is, hey, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, of course, so feel free to chime in with any comments that you would like to as well. And of course, as always, if you miss any of our episodes, go to Spotify. We have season 4 and 5 on there, so of course, check it out. But we'll kick it off. Let's do baseball first, and then we'll jump into football and hockey as the big things of the day. But one of the big things that came out of Major League Baseball this week is that baseball and ESPN, after all this time, have decided to divorce themselves from each other because they are not going to renew the TV contract. After 30
Uh,
something years, they have decided to part ways.
Imagine taking something you once took that was with so much like passion and pride, and you just shit all over the floor. That's literally what Rob Manfred and ESPN and Major League Baseball have done with this product.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rob Manfred was willing to part ways with this contract with Major League Baseball and ESPN really speaks volume about it because to me it feels like the reminiscence, and I'm sure you remember it when ESPN did this with the NHL the
Hmm.
first time after the lockout. So
Yeah.
to cut costs they had to cut ties with ESPN, and then the new ESPN one, they're like half of the people either don't know what they're talking about or players that played in the NHL, but it's difficult for the casual viewer to be watching and be like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and then you think about it, it's like, okay, ESPN has like a big time share of games that they have every single year. It's been a big mainstay of their program lineup, and now it's like, what do you replace Major League Baseball with? I mean, ESPN has really turned to shit, and that's my opinion over the last several years.
Well, I mean, they still have the rights technically for TBS during the playoffs and Fox, but my then question becomes, do you think because ESPN is no longer covering baseball games, do you think that a company, let's say like Netflix takes over? Do
I
you
hope
think a
not.
company like Max takes over or anything like that?
I hope not, because I mean, for Netflix, number one, you'd have to subscribe to get it, which that's crap, and you should be able to watch sports on regular TV. And then on top of it, Max, that's HBO. I mean, way back when HBO first started, they actually did have some sports on there, but then again, it's a premium TV service. You gotta subscribe to it. It's kind of like Netflix. You gotta pay like enough money a month to get it. So it's like what I would almost rather see is like either have it go more to the regional networks, or for example, I mean TNT, they're going to be losing the NBA. Have TNT pick up some games. I mean, they've actually done a pretty good job with hockey ever since they got the rights to that. Or you could always look at adding more games at TBS, which I mean TNT and TBS are sister stations, so of course you could do that. I mean, hell, even I mean Fox does a great job with baseball. Hell, even NBC could get baseball, which would be surprising because they've never had it, as far as I know. But NBC's getting basketball from TNT after over 30 years, so it could go a variety of different ways. But I mean, ESPN and baseball. I mean, that was just like one of those things you always looked to see baseball on there, and now you're not going to have it. It's like, what do you
Well,
replace it with?
well, I think the big thing too about this whole ordeal is a lot of baseball fans within the last 30 years, and I can relate to this, is people within the last 30 years would tend to watch playoff games during, prime time slots, especially in October. There were a handful of Mets playoff games being played
Yeah,
in the last few years on ESPN. Some of the playoff runs in 2015 when the Mets played the Royals, some of their playoff games were on ESPN. But if there was any sort of solution, my suggestion is if you're serious about pushing Major League Baseball onto a streaming platform by any means, is I can't think of an excuse for a lot of people to not have Amazon Prime because you already have this going on. I think you have, if I'm not mistaken, I think, you have obviously the NFL, which they do the Thursday night football. That's plain, obvious.
right.
And then you have, I think they're doing the NBA in the coming fall this year.
I think they are supposed to be getting the rights, and that's part of why TNT lost it because I think Amazon picked up part of it and NBC picked up part of it. And NBC hasn't broadcasted basketball in years, but I mean, I remember back in the early and mid 90s when they were doing that, and then they lost out, and that was at the time that ESPN had taken over and started working on that contract. But at the same time, it's like you're going more to a pay TV service or a streaming platform, and I mean, are people going to necessarily move to it? I don't know. I mean, especially if you got an older person, I mean, not to knock older people, but I mean, are they going to necessarily want to like embrace the newest technology and go to something like Amazon Prime or potentially a Netflix or Zumo even, which don't get me
What the fuck
started
is
with.
Zumo?
It's a streaming platform, and trust me, I've burned through 5 Zumo boxes in the last since November because
Seriously, I've never heard of that till now.
yeah. So here's the thing, and this is totally, I know, a little off topic. Spectrum now partners with Zumo for cable boxes, and what it is, it's like a Zumo box, kind of like Roku or one of those platforms. Basically, what they do instead of a traditional cable box, you have a streaming box. Except I've gone through 4 of them so far because this shit doesn't work.
And let me
They
guess, the
die.
provider is Amazon, right?
No, no, Zumo's its own company.
Okay, because what I was gonna say before is if you're gonna pull games on the international stage, like if you're gonna do like a prime time slot on like Monday night base, like in the NFL they do Monday Night Football and ESPN, and then on Amazon Prime and a platform like that, you do Thursday Night Football, from September to the end of December. I mean, that's pretty obvious, so that's all season long.
Right.
But in Canada, because every country has their own version of Amazon Prime. So, if for comparison, you're talking about Monday Night Hockey in Canada. So you could have like the Leafs play the Canucks. And in America, you can't even get that. If you want to see that game, you would have to either get center ice or through Fubo TV
Yeah.
or and the good thing is there's plenty of choices to watch games professionally on these streaming services in America.
Yep.
So if they do this deal, let's just say for the sake of argument, if they were to put that, the games on Amazon Prime, I'm willing to bet that in America it would be something like Monday Night Baseball or something like that, or Tuesday Night Baseball. But the big thing is they have to be very careful with who they put these slots into these games
Right.
is because in the fall, if you put a playoff game on Amazon Prime, you are not competing not just against yourselves. You're competing against a monopoly that's traditionally in the last few years at minimum three at this point, soon to be four, with Amazon Prime with the NFL. And then the NBA is going to be going on their platform as well. And I'm
Yep.
pretty sure NASCAR is going on their platform as well.
Well, actually, NASCAR is interesting because the CW network actually picked up a lot of the coverage now. So again, cable network that's not as well known as some others, but I mean CW was what UPN network and the WB network used to be, and they combined the two, and that's how you got the CW. But it's interesting because CW is actually doing a lot more sports coverage now. I mean, they've been picking up golf events, they've been picking up NASCAR this season. NBC is going to have NASCAR now, so they're getting big into that again. And then, I mean, they've actually been picking up like different college basketball events, and actually locally they're playing the Buffalo Bandits games now, which is nice. So I mean, CW is getting more involved in the sports. USA Network is getting more involved in the sports,
The
which
CW, the TV channel?
yeah, the TV channel CW, they actually have NASCAR rights now.
Oh, you mean that shitty program that had all those DC Comics TV show spin-offs that didn't really see the light of another day?
Yeah, the CW network, the network that had like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all that.
Yeah, I think they had the Flash, they had Green
Yep,
Arrow on
they
there,
did.
and then they tried to do like different DC comic TV shows, and that's yeah,
Yeah,
a good majority of them flopped.
yeah. So here's the thing: CW is now part of Nexstar Media Group, and Nexstar actually bid a shit ton of money to get sporting events. And they also created and Nexstar also owns the news channel News Nation, which has actually been growing very steadily too. Nexstar's been putting a lot of money into CW, and they've actually been getting a lot of sporting rights now.
So if the CW is smart, they should develop a streaming service. Like, yes, I know streaming services. There's like 300 of them. We get it. There's a lot, but put it like this: if you are CW and you make a platform specifically for your streaming services, like think of companies like Disney, think of companies like HBO, things like that. They were able to put out more Paramount Plus in this case. You could even put games in those like Hulu. You could do that. But the issue is if I'm the CW and you want the rights to Major League Baseball as part of your deal now that ESPN is letting them off the hook,
Hmm.
in the next CBA before next season in 2026, if the CW is smart, they acquire the rights and then they launch the CW Plus app or whatever it is if they're developing one. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. If they were to actually pick up the rights to the broadcasting for Major League Baseball and invest into that, I think that would really sell well. And then also, you want to have some of your older shows that you had on the platform for nearly 10 years.
Well, I think they're already on most of the major platforms just as a regular network. So, I mean, that's actually a good thing because I know they're on. I think they're on Fire TV. I know they're on Roku. They're on Zumo and other platforms that are out there. YouTube TV is another one. So, I mean, they're seen by almost everybody, which is a good thing. So, I mean, the fact that they're picking up different rights at this point is actually a smart thing, and they're going more the sporting route because I mean, other than a handful of shows, I mean, most of their shows are not worth watching, and that's just my opinion on that.
Right, like if let's say the CW somehow had the rights to like Marvel, I'm
Hmm.
sure that a lot of people, I mean Disney will never give them away, but if they
Right.
were ever get at least the rights to a character in their lineup, I am rest assure you that people would actually spend more time and effort and money into the CW. Because again, DC tried to do this for years and get a universe going, like an expanded universe with these
Hmm.
characters like the Flash and
Yeah.
the Green Arrow and Batwoman, which was a complete flop. I think they tried to do Gotham at one point on the CW, but
Yeah, it just didn't work.
like I've never saw Gotham, but I know a lot of people love that show. I never really saw any of them, but
Yeah, me either.
I know a lot of people because I have a coworker who I work with who loves, the DC universe and all that jazz. So he'll go on about it. But aside the point is that if Major League Baseball were to get the rights picked up by the CW, they could easily put it on a streaming service. Now, unless a bigger company like TBS is willing to step up, or Paramount even, if CBS wants to get the rights to these games, they can immediately put it on their platform at
Hmm.
Paramount Plus. They can immediately, expand on that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
hell, don't put it on a streaming service like Roku because not everyone has it.
Right, and that's a true statement, and there's so many streaming services out there now. I mean, not all of them are very well known, but I mean, YouTube TV, Amazon. I mean, those are going to be the primary ones that a lot of people are very aware of.
Oh yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see how the whole story goes.
yeah.
But if you're a Chicago White Sox fan, you might actually get your wish of having an actual half-ass good team because apparently Jerry Reinsdorf is looking to sell and Justin Ashiba might be looking to buy.
Yes, and for those of you out there, for all you kids out there that are listening, which I doubt there is,
Right. And if you are,
uh,
just keep in mind we do have the disclaimer before the start of the show that says yeah, this is an adult show and we're not responsible for anything that might happen to you. So,
yeah. So apparently there was a story that got retweeted on Twitter by Ken Rosenthal, who's
mm,
obviously a notorious insider for the MLB, famous for his bow ties. But anyway, so he retweeted a story that basically said that Justin Ishiba, who was born in Chicago, who was a billionaire, he currently owns the Phoenix Suns. And he was a potential bidder not even 2 years ago for the Minnesota Twins. And now he's interested in increasing his stock or his share an interest in buying the Chicago White Sox, who people think that if Ishiba gets the team, he'll take Jerry Reinsdorf out of retirement and let him just get, buried 6 feet under or whatever
mm,
and have him take over.
right. So, guess what? There is hope at the end of the tunnel for White Sox fans. Guess what? You might actually get a decent team finally and not have to suffer through the years of misery. So,
Yeah, it's in a way it's it's kind of twisted because Josh Harris, and I'll never forget this. When Josh Harris bought the Washington Commanders, I said to myself, how the hell did this guy get the team if he's not from the DC area? Like, I'm sure he was born there, but before he bought the team, he was the minority owner of the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils. So people were saying, well, all of the operations behind the two teams were from Harris because he lived in Jersey and he went to South Philly for the Sixers. So when he got the money to get the Commanders, he just left it to a big corporation for both those teams, which is very interesting to me.
yeah.
So the same thing is happening here.
Yeah, and again, time will tell. But we have some interesting news that we're also going to get into, and you know what? Let's get into the hockey side of things. And oh, shit, someone's at my door. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to step away for a moment. But let's talk about Rantanen might be moved again,
Oh God. So Miko
and
Rantanen.
I'll be right back. I'm going to see who's at the door.
Yeah, so I'll take care of it from here.
You
So
got
for
it.
those of you though out there, Miko Ranson's name has been brought up a lot lately. And David Pagnotta, who is an insider for the fourthperiod.com, and a lot of us are familiar with that name, he's, breaking news and all of that. He actually brought up something very interesting. And he said that there seems to be a lot of chatter surrounding Miko Rantanen that he is not interested in signing a long-term extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. And then it came out today, as of this recording, which is March 26th. I mean, not March 26th, February 26th. My apologies. There was talk that the Hurricanes and Taylor Hall are talking a contract extension for maybe like 2 years because Rantanen is not even 30 yet. Well, he's 28, but Taylor Hall's like 35. But aside the point. So there's been a lot of movement about Rantanen, and there is a big speculation why this could be the case. So Darren Dreger also posted this out. He said, as Miko Rantanen contemplates his future on speculation as it builds up, the Carolina Hurricanes are clearly wanting to extend him and are constantly communicating with his agent, which is Andy Scott. And Rantanen remains unsure of it, so the Hurricanes may consider trading him, and it's too soon to say. So that was being said this past Saturday before all this kind of broke down. And then Elliot Freeman Elliot Freeman said that the Hurricanes made an offer to Rantanen, which was a quote 9-digit offer on a contract extension during the Four Nations face-off a few weeks ago. And he said he still needs time to process of what's happened, and he has not given a yes or no answer to the situation, and other teams are waiting. So this thing just went from bad to worse. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that the Hurricanes don't bring back Mikko Rantanen. They basically traded Jack Drury, Martin H's, and a handful of draft picks and the rights to Taylor Hall for nothing. So this whole thing is just a big waste of time. I mean, for Carolina, they should have had this done. And I said this on a show a few years ago. I said, if you're going to make a trade for someone like Rantanen's caliber, you better damn be sure that you have the finances and you have the cap space to make this work. Because remember, we've said it on the show a handful of times. Mikko Rantanen wants $14 million. $14 million, guys, for the contract that he thinks. This guy truly believes that he's worth Connor McDavid money. He believes he's worth Leon Draisaitl money, Nathan McKinnon money. Fuck no. That guy is not worth $14 million. And I'm sorry to say that, because that's the truth. That's the truth. And the fact remains is that if the Canes are that committed to signing him, cool. Then you're gonna have to get rid of half your core and just to make up the cap space. And I'm gonna just put this out there for everybody else. There is no fucking team in the National Hockey League as of this moment will be paying Mikko Rantanen $14 million. You have to be fucking crazy to spend that kind of money on a player in his caliber. And I'm not saying Rantanen is bad, but it's clearly shown, and it's eerily similar, because I'm also an Islander fan. This eerily happened with Matt Molson. He was really good with John Tavares, and people said, Molson's a very good player. And then once he came to the Sabres for Vanek all those years ago, Molson's production went down the toilet. And people were like, really? Really? That's the player that the Sabres traded for? So I just remember this in the back of my head. So we are legit witnessing this right now with Rantanen. This guy is demanding the moon for his next contract. And yet the Canes don't even want to pay him that kind of money. Like, they want to extend him, but they don't want to give him what he wants. Because Mikko Rantanen is delusional. If he truly believes that he's going to get $14 fucking million, not a chance in the world. And I'm sorry to say that. That's just reality. That's just reality to the whole situation. So, the funny thing, too, is now that Mikko Rantanen's name was brought up, and I'll bring it to Tom's attention when he comes back, is not only is Mikko Rantanen's name being brought up as possible trade rumors, but Brady Tkachuk's name is also being brought up. So Andy Strickland, who was an insider for the St. Louis Blues, because remember, Brady and Matthew were born in St. Louis, he said that Brady Tkachuk leaving the Ottawa Senators is, quote, inevitable, and that he believes that he will try to team up with Matthew in Florida. Look, I see this as a double-edged sword. First of all, if you trade Brady Tkachuk, you're basically trading away the best player this team has had in a very long time. Maybe since, like, Erik Karlsson. I would say he's probably the most well-known Senators player since, like, Erik Karlsson. I'll even go as back as Daniel Alfredsson. Like, that. This is a monumental tall task for the Sens. If that rumor is true by any means, that Brady Tkachuk is going to want out of Ottawa eventually, if Eugene Melnyk was alive, that fucker would have got traded to, like, Vancouver like 3 years ago, because that's how cheap, Eugene Melnyk was. And then you have Michael Andlauer, the new Sens owner, who wants to make this work. And the next thing you know, the next thing you know, all the speculations coming out saying that Brady Tkachuk might want out. It doesn't surprise me, because there's been a lot of rumors about the Devils. There's been a lot of rumors about the Senators. There's been a lot of rumors about, well, pretty much everybody. Pretty much everybody's on board about the idea that Brady Tkachuk will eventually want to leave for the States and play in South Beach with Matthew. And I know that's something that's eerily similar right now that's happening with Quinn Hughes, where Quinn Hughes a few weeks ago said, I want to stay with the Canucks, but I don't want to be a part of a rebuild, which pretty much says I want to get out of here and I want to play with my brothers in New Jersey. And that's still a possibility because you're pretty much saying that New Jersey and Florida are dominating the NHL landscape in terms of siblings. And it's not a bad thing because the fact that you have one of the most talented players in the NHL who's in a shithole like Ottawa, all of a sudden now he's going to pretty much contemplate about leaving. If it's not during the trade deadline, which I don't think is going to happen, unless the Senators are like a point out, I can't think of an excuse to have Brady Kachuk not want to stay if they're that close to making the playoffs. But I think it really comes down to um, I think it really comes down to how the Sens respond because at this point they have so many injuries, and the fact that Linus Olmark was hurt for a little bit, and then you have guys like Tim Stutzla, you have Jake Sanderson, you have obviously Brady Kachuk, you have Josh Norris. They have some key good players on the Ottawa Senators, and the fact that there's speculation that Kachuk might want to leave, honestly, at this point, if I was given an excuse to play with my brother, I would probably take it. But they don't come around too often, which is very interesting. So now let's get to the good stuff. And I know we're still waiting on Tom because I don't know where he is. Um, yeah, so things are getting very interesting in the NHL because apparently Gary Bettman is getting a lot of heat as of late on the Elliot Freeman's 32 Thoughts podcast with Kyle Bukakska. I can't really pronounce his name. Bukaska. If I butcher your name, I apologize. It's extremely rude. But yeah, he went on the 32 Thoughts podcast on Monday afternoon. And he basically said that Gary Bettman is getting a lot of heat about the new decentralized draft structure, which basically means, but it's the clubs that asked for it, which basically Bettman doesn't like doing either. But the team pretty much asked for it. And you're probably asking, are you just saying a crock of shit or are you actually speculating something? I'm actually not. So, what this whole thing is about is Bettman getting on stage and announcing the draft picks. Eerily similar to how Adam Silver does it, how Roger Goodell does it, and how Rob Manfred does it. Out of the major four, Bettman is the only one that does not do it. But a lot of teams have outright said, Gary, you're the commissioner. You're supposed to represent us. We want you to announce the picks. You're the commissioner. I, and recently too, it was announced that the NHL draft is going to be held at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, and I think it's on June 26th through the 27th. So, and at any rate, so teams are saying, Gary, we want you to go on stage and announce the picks for us, which I can kind of sense why they feel this way because I don't think the scouts really like they want to feel like they're a part of the team. They would much rather have the commissioner of the National Hockey League go up on stage at the podium at the draft at the Peacock Theater and pretty much announce the picks because we really don't know who's going to be the first overall pick yet. We truly have no idea. All we know is that the draft is going to be in LA at the Peacock Theater and Bettman's going to likely announce the picks. I mean, I very well could be wrong about this, but there's been a lot of backlash about Bettman saying, I don't really want doing it. And for him, he's not a fan of that idea either, but I understand where he's coming from because that's called stage fright. But he's been the commissioner for 35 years. So for this guy to not want to do it is very strange. But it's whatever, you can't really complain about that. So while we're also on the topic of hockey until Tom comes back, I feel like I'm running the show by myself. But then his stupid ass is gonna come back and he's gonna say, "Hey, sorry about that, guys. I had a stranger at the door. I had no idea what he wanted." So this whole ordeal is just nuts because I don't even know where he is. He didn't text me or anything. He didn't say, "Hey, I'll be right back." He kind of just abandoned me, which right now I'm kind of in control because I can't really do anything without him. But I'm trying to hold the show together. So I apologize in advance if I'm just doing all the talking. He's at the fucking door. So I'm sure he's gonna write us, a long ass apology later. So I don't want to bore you guys. So what I'm going to talk about now is we're still on hockey at the moment. Is Rasmus Dahlin, there was a stat that came out from the NHL PR team, and a lot of it had to do with Rob Ray getting hit in the fucking face with a puck. And during that same game against the New York Rangers, Rasmus Dahlin became the third Sabres defenseman at the time of that game in the past 30 years to score twice in the opening frame of a game. Because Dahlin scored 2 goals in the first game this past Saturday against the Rangers, and both of them were just outright beauties. But it's the fact that Dahlin is just such a gifted player, but the team doesn't want to build a team around him, which is nuts. But I get why, he's putting up all the stats the way he is now, but it is what it is. And then we all know about Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin inevitably will become the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. And it was said this past Sunday as well that Alex Ovechkin has become the first and only player so far in NHL history to score 200 plus goals in the three separate decades in the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Which, and the crazy thing is, he's 39 years old. He is not slowing down anytime soon. I mean, he might retire after he chases the record, but who knows? He might still keep going. Like, we really don't know. But worst comes to shove. Worst comes to shove. And then there was a comment being made by Luke Schenn, the current defenseman of the Nashville Predators. And he basically was talking about the dysfunctional shit show that we know as the city of Smashville. And because the Predators were overhyped over the summer, getting Stamkos and Marchessault and Shea and all those guys, he pretty much come out and said that the Predators are utter crap. He said, quote, "I don't think I've ever been a part of a group like this that literally can't score goals. That literally can't score goals." Luke, what the fuck, dude? That's embarrassing. But I also think you're just finding a way to punch yourself and take it out of Nashville because there's what, 9 days until the trade deadline, March 7th at 3 p.m. But I want to go over Nashville's roster real quick because he might actually bring up a point. Let me get the roster for the Predators because that shouldn't take too long because I'm actually using the NHL app for this. This roster on paper is stacked, but they are garbage. I'm sorry, they are utter garbage. So you have guys like Philip Forsberg, Mark Jankowski, Jonathan Marchessault, Michael McCarron, Tommy Novak, Gustav Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly, Colton Scissors, Steven Stamkos, fucking Roman Yossi, Jeremy Lauzon, Luke Schenn, Brady Shea. How is this team fucking mediocre? It can't score shit.
Sorry about that, man. I did
Is
not
that the
plan
fucking
on.
pizza man giving you a blowjob?
No, apparently I got a new neighbor across the hall who finally decided to take. They finally got someone to take the apartment across from mine. So that was that. But hey, we might have a new follower, so that's actually not a bad thing.
Oh, good. I was thinking it was the pizza guy giving you a blowjob at the
No,
door.
the fuck you talking about, fool? It's like, hey, I don't swing that way, man. It's like I don't do guy on guy, so there ain't no way that's
Just give me
ever
the
happening.
pepperoni.
Give me the sausage.
Give me the anchovies.
Oh shit! But anyways, nah, good guy though. So so I ended up meeting him. So new neighbor's Tony's got he actually had a dog with him too. But cool as hell though. Seemed pretty good. So
Yeah, so while I was holding down the fort, just to give you a quick brief of what I was talking
yeah,
about.
I know you were covering a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was talking about the rants in the trade. I was talking about how the Canes were giving him an offer, which was a 9-digit contract.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the NHL draft is going to be held in LA at the Peacock Theater.
yep.
And then I talked about Bettman not wanting to do the podium, which is like, announce the picks
Yeah.
kind of a thing. He doesn't want to do it. Excuse
No.
me. And then Brady Kachuk might leave Ottawa.
Yep.
There's been a lot of speculation about that. And I actually have two more topics for hockey, and then
Yeah.
we'll just get into football because there's a lot to
Of course.
cover.
Yes, there is.
Yep. So we'll start small by basically saying that there was actually a trade on Monday night.
Wow. All right. Let's jump into it.
All right. So this is a pretty big one, and I'll let you know on an opinion or whatever. And that is that the Detroit Red Wings have traded goaltender Ville Husso to the Anaheim Ducks for future considerations.
I get nothing.
Wow, future considerations is a very good player.
Yeah.
Why did the
Why?
Ducks get rid of him? Wow. Shame on you,
Yeah.
Anaheim.
Yeah, really.
You got rid of future considerations. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, it means you're getting nothing in return.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh man. And then for hockey, the last one is I want to just send my condolences to Al Trotwick and his family. And unfortunately, he passed away this week at the age of 68 from cancer.
Yeah, sad to see. I mean, he's definitely well known in the New York City sports circle, and I mean, he's done a lot of coverage for a long time. Even going back to MSG, I mean, he was actually doing sports on USA Network back in the early '80s. So I mean, it was just interesting to hear about that. But no, definitely thoughts are with him. And I was gonna say, I don't know if you covered this, but how about the Sabres actually playing good since the break?
I actually did cover the Sabres game.
Yeah, nice stuff. I mean, they kicked the shit out of the Rangers, so beautiful on that. And then of course last night, the comeback win against Anaheim was definitely great to see too. And we actually saw some fisticuffs in the game too, because Truba and Krebs actually dropped the gloves. So good to
Yeah.
see that, and had a couple scrums. Greenway was making his presence known. Good old Razor was up in section 327 covering the game last night in the very last row, so he wouldn't take another puck to the head.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
That was the best fuck he ever said on live TV.
Yeah. So I read a stat to the audience that said that Rasmus Dahlin this past Saturday against the Rangers became the third Sabres defenseman in the past 30 years to score twice in the opening frame of a game.
Yeah, he's coming into his own, which is good to see. And it seems like right now that they're really starting to try to pick up the pace and are trying to play the right way, and they actually figured out a lot of different things. But the skeptic in me is like, why is it that we always wait until after a break and then we try to play catch up with the last half of the season?
I don't know the answer to that question. I wish I had the answer, but we
Yeah,
don't really
same
have
here.
one.
Same here. It's like I've never understood that because that's what's been going on for the longest time. But credit to Luukkonen though. I mean, he's had another solid outing, and actually Devin Levi is playing lights out in Rochester right now. I mean, he's got like almost like a .970 save percentage.
Yeah, and by the way, note to the Sabres, keep Levi down there.
Yes, let him develop, let him get the playing time, and then bring him up.
No, do not bring him up at all. Let him stay in Rochester. I don't care if the Sabres are 1 point out of a playoff spot. Do not call him up. Let him develop because they're going to need him in the playoffs if the Amerks go this year, which I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I mean they've been playing pretty well, so I mean it's one of those things. Give Levi the playing time in Rochester. Let him get all the time that he needs down there
Yeah,
before he even consider bringing it up here again. Because right now he's doing everything he needs to, and that's good to see. And plus Rochester's got a pretty nice lineup down there, so so
absolutely.
so good to see that. And with the fact with the Sabres now they're actually playing pretty decent. Now if they can keep playing the way they are and bringing that energy, that's really the biggest thing. My only concern is in the second and part of the third period, they took the foot off the gas after having a great first period.
In the Ranger game.
No, in the Anaheim game last night.
Oh, in the Anaheim game. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were down two in the first, and then obviously nothing really happened in the second. And then the third period, they just had, I don't know, a bunch of propellers in their assholes, and then they just went
Yeah,
all
yeah,
around KeyBank Center.
yeah,
You had
literally.
Dolly and the fucking degenerates all just flying around KeyBank Center and just teasing the Ducks at
Yeah,
that point.
and they were hitting pipes like crazy too. I mean, there was at least like three or four really good attempts in the third period alone before they finally got two on the board. So, I mean, that was great to see. Tuck had a wicked angle goal, I will say that, and then I mean, Paterka had a really nice shot to get him on the board. So it's good that they're actually competing. I just want to see a full 60 minutes. I don't want it to be like 40 minutes of compete and 20 minutes off or anything like that because that's I'm still seeing some of that. And that's like one of those things like when you're playing hard like that, are you going to get every single shot? No. Are you going to get every single goal? No. Are there going to be games you lose? Yes. I mean, it happens. But at the same time, don't take your foot off the gas, because the way they were playing in the first period, even though you're down 2-0, I mean, you were getting shots on net like crazy, and you were hitting pipes several times. So as long as you're getting the shots clean on net, at some point you're going to score. So
Absolutely.
that's like one of the things. I just want them to be more consistent with the full 60 minutes. But it's still getting 2 wins off the break. Great to see. Now they just got to keep that momentum going, because they're going to be playing on average every other night now for the rest of the season. So they just
Yeah.
need to keep doing that.
Well, by the way, you owe for holding down the fort for 10 fucking minutes. I owe myself some water. So I'll be right back, dipshit.
Right. So, of course, one of the things we'll do is we're going to jump into some other things as well. Obviously, of course, if you're checking this out, make sure you do visit us on YouTube and Spotify. We are here, Spotify especially. We do have our old episodes as well. So, definitely check it out. And then one of the other things I was going to say as well, especially with us going into football. Lots of drama happening. Well, the first thing that I will say is Khalil Shakir got extended, so that is good to see. He's had a pretty nice um, coming into the league, and he's been contributing to the Bills. He's done some good things, so I mean, good to see him get extended, and it's nice that Bean's being able to rework some different deals. But one of the big things that's happening though, and James Cook doesn't want, he keeps saying he doesn't want to be part of drama, but guess what? He's causing drama because he still thinks he's a $15 man per year, and the thing is, even Saquon Barkley isn't getting 15 million. So how the hell does James Cook think he's worth 15 million?
Well, let's start with Shakir because I think this was pretty big news that broke out. Was on Tuesday afternoon during my lunch break, which is a coincidence.
Mm.
The Bills have announced on X that the team and Khalil Shakir agreed to a 4-year deal worth about $60.2 million, which includes a $32 million guarantee to his contract.
Hmm.
So, do I think he's rewarded of that deal? I think it depends on which version of the Bills Mafia you ask, because one version says, "Oh, that's 20 million per year. Oh, that's too much." And then you have the other half who thinks that it's 15 million per year, and it's like, that's not a bad deal. I honestly
Right.
think that this, if you look at the numbers, I'm pretty sure this is a $15 million contract. If you're talking about 4 years in general, that I mean, I think that's a pretty damn good contract.
Yeah.
And technically, this also happens to happen when you're a competitor and you have the NFL MVP on your team. You are willing to take on a contract that's much cheaper than the actual contract that was given to the original player. Because I know Shakir had like what, a 5th-year option in his current deal that was about to happen, and then he was doomed to be a free agent this year. So they said, we want to keep him around, which isn't a bad thing because I do like Khalil Shakir.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So good deal, and nice that it's done at this point, and we're getting it taken care of. So that is absolutely a good one to have here. But of course, with James Cook, it's like, Delvin Cook, shut the fuck up. Stop telling your brother he's worth 15 mil, because he ain't worth 15 mil.
Where do we even begin with this one? Holy shit!
And it
I-
still keeps going, and he keeps saying, I don't want to be the whole reason that there's drama. Well, guess what? You are the reason there's drama right now.
Yeah, quite literally. So he went on the Club Shay Shay, and yeah, so he went on the Club Shay podcast with Shannon Sharp, and he basically spoke about this whole ordeal. He said that he doesn't want to cause any issues, but wants to be paid like that. He thinks that he's worth it. But no, it gets juicier. So the full quote is during a podcast appearance with Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson, he said, quote, I just want to get what I deserve. As for what that means, Cook previously hinted during an interview with a live session that he was looking for $15 million, which no running back should ever be getting that kind of money to begin with.
Oh,
He
definitely
said
not.
he says, I just feel like we're deserving of it. Like, why not? We all work for our life to get paid. Feed me the big bucks, and I want to go chase the highest of the highest, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Hmm.
Oh my God, he's delusional. And then on top of all that, he says, I'm going to stand on what I stand on, and I don't feel like a cancer at all because I don't like all the attention and all that. That's not me, honestly. I'm just standing on business and what I deserve. That's what I deserve. Is he out of his fucking mind?
Yeah, he is, because even Saquon Barkley ain't making that money. King
He's
Henry ain't
staying
even
on.
making that money.
So wait a minute. So let me ask this asshole a question. If you want to get $15 million, you then claim I don't want to be a cancer. I don't want to be a distraction on the team. How about shut the fuck up and just go to work like you've been doing your entire goddamn playing career? Like how often do you want to be like I understand being paid because we talked about the lifespan of a running back, which was 3 years in the NFL at minimum. But here's the thing, too. James Cook has some flaws. I'm not saying he's a terrible player. That's not what
Hmm.
we're saying. He is just not worth $15 million for a running back.
No, he's not. I could say maybe 10, 10.5, maybe 11, but he ain't worth 15.
Yeah. Oh, and you know how we were just talking about how James Cook doesn't want to be a cancer and doesn't
Yeah.
want to be act up drama? Well, this asshole fucking lied already.
Oh, yeah. Because
Yeah,
it's
he lied
causing
already.
problems.
Yeah. So James Cook, get ready for this. And you're not gonna like it because I know how you react. Let me just get my
Hmm.
water because this is a pretty nifty one.
Yeah.
Anyways, so James Cook is expected to request a trade and or hold out of all of offseason programs this summer due to his contract with this conflict of the team. And Cook is looking for an increased payday after coming off a career year and is requesting top tier money when it comes to annual average value. He went on an Instagram earlier in the season and pinned his own comment saying 15 million per year, and Cook is only due $5 million next season, which is the final year of his rookie deal before he becomes a free agent. And something to monitor in the offseason is that they'll have to see how the running back market shapes up after an impressive year from Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Right. So, I was going to say running backs, you can always find in the draft.
Yeah, usually.
You can always find them in free agency.
Usually.
And you can usually replace the production pretty easily.
Well, if he wants to be traded and he's not willing to budge, I'd send his ass to Cleveland.
Yeah, let them go. And on top of it, Cleveland, you can get some good value. I mean, we can get some good value from them off of it.
Well, for me, I think this would be enough to get Miles Garrett to go to the Bills.
It could be. And you know what? Make that part of the deal.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
But again, it has to be the right fit. Because I don't want to just trade James Cook for the sake of saying, oh, he's a cancer and he wants to be paid this kind of money. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to get paid. I'm saying is that he should take a team friendly deal where if he is not willing to budge and he cares more about the money than winning a Super Bowl, that dude could fuck off.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're at that point now where they don't want to be fucking around with the cap. They want to win the Super Bowl now. And
Right.
Brandon Bean just came out the other day during the combine in Indianapolis and he was asked about the situation. And he was basically saying what we've all been saying is that, we're gonna let this play out and we're gonna talk contract and
Hmm.
we'll talk it over and all that. We're not worried about that. So there's also been other issues as well that's been going around, and that is Von Miller's name has been brought up, and supposedly Von Miller could become a cap casualty for the Bills if he refuses to take another pay cut this offseason, and he refused to take one last year. You remember that?
Yep. And you know what? The way I look at it, cut him.
I agree.
Just cut him
I
at this
agree.
point because right now he's not who he used to be. I mean, he's had a great career. Yes, I think he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any question about that. But right now, with where this team is and basically the money that the team needs in order to move forward, you can easily replace his production. And there's better players out there right now than what Von Miller is. Now, it's not to say you can't bring Miller back into the team in another capacity, perhaps have him on a coaching stint or something like that, but
Or like a mentorship or a scout or
exactly, yeah, you could easily do that. But in terms of his playing days, I think they're done. Quite honestly, I mean, especially when you blow out your knee twice the way that he did, and then not being able to pick up the production. I mean, he had some flashes here or there, but when you're only getting like a couple sacks a year instead of being able to dominate like you used to early in the career, that's it. It's not worth the money.
No, it's not. And the thing that sucks is that he was one of the most hyped players the Bills have gotten in free agency in the last God knows how long. I would say
Yeah,
Von
years.
Miller, he was probably the most hyped defensive end the Bills got since what, Mario Williams?
Yeah, and that's well over 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, big time. But the thing is that times have changed. Von Miller is not what he used to be. And if this arrogant fucker is not willing to take another pay cut, and remember, I just said it, he didn't get one last year. He didn't take a pay cut last year because he says, I'll be fine. It takes time for me to recover from injuries. I'll be in full strength by week 5 after I serve my stupid ass suspension. That's my hippie talk, by the way. Things will be great around here when I come back. We'll get over the hump. Vaughn, shut the fuck up. All you do, I've said this a handful of times. The dude is an outright snake oil salesman. All he does is run his big fucking mouth. Ever since he won that second Super Bowl with the Rams, all he's been is talk. That's
Hmm.
all that guy has been. And he acts like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ, like he could walk on water. Like, dude, shut the fuck up.
I mean, his production and how he talks about it, they don't match up. And
They
quite
really
honestly,
don't.
yeah, and the production is a production business, and that's what people need to understand about any sport in general, especially in football. If you don't
Right.
produce, you're out, and that's where he is right now.
And it's not just football, this applies to all sports. Don't get attached to a player because my wife learned this lesson the hard way.
Hmm.
She absolutely loved Stephon Diggs when he was with the Bills. Then he
Yeah,
started to become a cancer and all that jazz.
then we traded
And he
him,
was acting like a bitch. And he got traded to the Texans, and the Bills gained
and
out of it.
yeah, and Diggs blew his knee out.
Yeah, he blew his knee out, and the Bills got a free second round pick for him.
Yeah, exactly. And Diggs didn't do shit for Houston anyways. So, and he's gonna probably be a free agent. So,
More than likely, he's probably going to end up in the Cowboys.
oh Jesus. Yeah, good point. Yeah, Jera, we'll take him. Yeah, and
But
good
you know
luck.
what?
Good luck going to that franchise because that franchise is gonna die this year.
Yeah, more than likely. And speaking of trades, Tyreek Hill could be traded this offseason with the Miami Dolphins. If they could be open to trading him if there's a team that's willing to take on his contract.
Please, Bills, do not take on the contract.
It's Spotrac was the one that actually reported this. So let me get this straight. You have a malcontent wide receiver who threw a bitch fit in the ending of the regular season against the Jets, mic'd up basically saying, I'm done here. Then he backtracks by saying, yeah, I want to stay here. And now you're willing to trade him again?
What is up with that poverty franchise?
I truly don't understand. And speaking of trades, the Commanders of all teams, and there's a whole lot of people on this list, the Commanders have had conversations about Jonathan Allen, and Washington plans to do the right by the player in his camp, which is involving in helping him land in the right spot. Either through free agency or in trade, and he has 1 year left on his current deal with about $15 million.
I will say Washington is definitely going to be an NFC team to watch because, I mean, especially after the season they had this year and actually going fairly deep in the playoffs where a lot of people didn't think they were going to do that. Good to see him being bold, making moves.
I mean, it's like, why would you want to trade one of the best pass rushers on your team? I understand you went to the NFC Championship game for the first time in God knows how long,
Uh,
but that's a hell of a thing to be proud of. But
yeah.
why would you want to trade a pass rusher that currently has 1 year left on his current deal and could be a huge production to your team if he's fully healthy next season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And I wonder if it's one of those things they're thinking either cap casualty or if they're thinking possibly not recovering from the injury as much as they would hope.
I don't know. And it's hard to say because, I mean, I don't watch the Commanders very often,
Yeah,
but
me
I
either.
do like Jonathan Allen, though.
I mean, he is a good player. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just wondering if the Commanders know something that the rest of us don't know yet.
I have no idea. And to kind of give you an idea about him, Jonathan Allen just turned 30 years old just a month ago.
Hmm.
almost two.
Right. Right. So, I mean, he still has playing time left.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got time.
Yeah.
I mean, which team will take him on? I don't have a clue.
Yeah, me either. But I mean, he would definitely land somewhere. I mean, I know that there would be a team that would take him, especially if a trade goes on. It's like, well, unless you're unless you're Miami, who's just too stupid on everything. And yes, they are a poverty franchise. And yes, Tyler Tarabocia, if you do watch this show, which I don't know if you do, but if you do, yes, I did call the Miami Dolphins a poverty franchise, just like your podcast is a fucking poverty franchise. You fuck.
You should. You know what? I think
And
just for
Josh Allen is your daddy, and remember that.
you should just out of spite just say, "Hi, my name's Tom Wujak. I'm from the podcast Buffalo After Dark. We would love to have you on our show and just let me bash you in the fucking head for an hour."
Yeah. Oh God. I will say I will say I think like the way he does his stuff and again everyone has their own podcast style. We're just more like, hey, this is how it is. He's just more like the in your face. I don't know what to call it. I don't care for it. I think he's more a parody than anything, and has like no clue on what's going on. But that's just me.
He's delusional sometimes, but
That too.
no, I'm genuinely serious when I say this. You should contact him via TikTok and ask him if he wants to do an interview for Buffalo After Dark
Oh boy, I would
because
love
it's
to
not
rip
just
him a
the
new ass.
because it's not the Dolphins that he just covers. You know, he covers all sports, basketball, baseball, hockey, things like
Mm.
that. Like in baseball, he's a Yankee fan. In basketball, he's a Heat fan, and in hockey, he's a Devils fan.
Oh, nice. So he basically paid his way to be a Heat fan because the Heat bought their team, and then let's see, the Yankees. We already know, fuck the Yankees, and then of course with the Devils, they're right. Well, they're okay. I mean, we know Jesus likes them, so
Well, he's from New Jersey, so it
yeah,
makes a
he
lot of
grew up with
sense.
them. It's his home team.
I'm pretty sure that he's from Rob's neck of the woods.
Wouldn't surprise me if he is.
Well, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I don't have an issue with where
Yeah,
you're from,
yeah, me either.
but I just find it interesting that that I like I said, I just find this interesting because you just have so much hatred for this guy that you should just definitely consider bringing him on.
Oh God, that would be a roast.
Yeah.
That would be
And you,
a total roasting if we were to do that.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, the NFL has already submitted two changes to their league for next season. Actually, three, I should
Yeah.
say.
Well, one of them is they're going to electronic first down measurements.
That is correct. This story came out an hour ago, basically saying that the NFL is installing an electronic system to measure first downs for the upcoming season in 2025, and the old school chain gang will be nothing more than a backup.
Hey, good job, Bills. We actually got another rule changed because of the referee's inability to do their job.
Oh, shut up. How's that worked out for everybody else?
Well, I mean, we all know the Chiefs bought off everybody until the Super Bowl, and then they got their ass handed to them in perfect karma.
Well, there is a topic on the Chiefs that I want to discuss, but
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
take
get to
this one
that in
thing.
a few moments here.
Yeah, and the other rule that's being thrown around, this is number two, by the way. The NFL is considering changing the touchback play to the 35-yard line, according to Rich McKay, who's like one of the directors of NFL ruling or
Mhm.
whatever. He said the league is also considering multiple other changes to the kickoff play. Like last year, they made that change to the XFL style of their
Yeah.
kickoff, which a lot of people seemed to, at the beginning of it, hated the idea. But I think when they actually saw it in action, they said, okay, that's not really as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about it, but I'm not totally against it either. So, I mean, I think it just took getting used to it, I think was really the biggest thing. But, I mean, of course, yeah, do I still love seeing someone get crushed at the 5 yard line? Absolutely. But then again, I mean, I understand the point of it, and it just took getting used to it is really the big thing.
The only thing that this does is provide momentum for the offense because the NFL is all about offense in this
Hmm.
league. You have guys like Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You have all these guys. Why the hell do you want to bring the
Yeah, even
kickoff
Jalen
rule?
Hurts. Yeah.
I just said Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I'm just saying, like, why would you want to go from the 20-yard line or 25, whatever it is, to the 35-yard line. Like, that's a
Yeah,
bit excessive,
it
don't you think?
is. It is. I mean, I would rather like if it's a 20 or 25, okay. I'm totally fine with that. 35, it's like what are you trying to do? Run up the score now at this point?
I have no idea. I wish I knew the answer to that question, but there actually is a few more things I want to discuss, and one of them is the third rule is Sean McDermott surprisingly made a comment about this,
Okay.
and there is speculation that the NFL is looking into banning the tush push.
Don't ban it just because everyone else can't do it. I mean, Philly can do it, do a great job with it. Green Bay's able to do it. We're able to do it. And you know what? Just because other teams don't use it or other teams are not effective with it, don't ban it just because the rest of everybody else can't do it.
I mean, in a sense, I get why it's happening, but because they're like, "Oh, it's not fair," and I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
no
fuck
shit."
fairness on that.
Quite literally.
Yeah, it's like just because they can't do it, you know what? Too bad. Learn how
I
to
don't.
cover it, or either learn how to do it.
I don't even know at this point. All I know is that the NFL is trying way too hard to make it into like a flag football league, which I don't think we're
Yeah,
gonna get to that point at least yet.
I hope
But
not because we've already seen that with the Pro Bowl.
yeah, the Pro Bowl is a joke, and there's a
Yeah,
reason why no one watches it.
yeah, I could care less about the Pro Bowl really at this point.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Josh Allen, I should mention this. I don't know if you got a wimp at this, but Josh Allen will be inducted into the University of Wyoming's Athletics Hall of
Hmm.
Fame as part of this year's class.
I did hear about that. Well deserved. He earned it.
Absolutely. And Gronk might come back.
Oh Jesus, why Gronk? You've already come back once. Why do you need to come back twice?
Well, Gronk did win a Super Bowl.
Right, but Gronk, seriously, man.
Yeah, well, get this. Gronk is considering we're coming back out of retirement, and the same thing is being said for JJ Watt. Gronk is considering a return to the NFL, and the Denver Broncos could be the landing spot and are the front runners.
Wow. Okay. Not a bad team choice, actually. I mean, if you were to do that, I mean, but still, Gronk, you got beat the hell out of your time when you were with the Patriots and when you were Tampa. You don't have anything left to prove.
Hmm. Well, the other team I've heard was Buffalo and Cincinnati. Those are the other two teams that were interested in him. Well, he has him and Julian Edelman, and it's funny we're talking about this. Julian Edelman and Gronk were having a conversation on a podcast recently,
Hmm.
and he said that he wants to play with Josh Allen for at least 1 year in his NFL career. And I'm like, Gronk, why didn't you just stay in the NFL after you won that Super Bowl instead of
Right.
retiring again? You could have easily just said, I want to go test the waters. I want to go try out Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he can come back in game shape and we can use him in the right situations and the deal is friendly to the team, then okay, maybe come back for a year, see what happens. If he and of course Gronk is originally from here, so if he can push the Bills over the top in several ways and he gives another tight end option, just think about how you would be stacked at tight end. I mean, you'd have Knox, you have Kincaid, and then Gronk. Holy shit.
I mean, three tight ends though,
I know. And the weird thing is, like, to me, three tight ends is excessive. Usually, most of the time, you're getting away with two.
at minimum. It's like right now with the Bills, they use three running backs.
Right. And and there's different times we can use them in situationally. I mean, with Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, and then of course Cook. I mean, you have Cook as your go-to back. I mean, and he's shifty and he can change direction pretty easily. Davis is basically just pound it right up the middle and basically don't give a shit. It's just he's gonna pound you for
Right.
yards. And Ty Johnson is kind of like a mix between.
Well, I look at it like this, is that if you bring in Gronk as a third tight end option, I can't foresee him not being a fan favorite immediately and want to,
Mhm.
be the first tight end. I really don't know because you have to remember something. His body has deteriorated over the last few years after leaving the Bucks,
Oh yeah,
and he's also 35. He's about the same age as Travis Kelce, who, by the way,
he is
who was
coming
not
back
the
for another year.
yeah, he's coming back to play next season. So in Gronk's case, that if he wants to come back and play for the Bills for 1 year, okay, I don't have an issue with it. But he also said he wanted to play with Joe Burrow.
You're better off playing with Josh Allen.
Because the Bengals are delusional. Because Duke Tobin, the GM of the Bengals, came out the other day and he said they're going to resign all three of them. And T. Higgins outright put a fucking like blue cap in his Instagram. And I said, okay.
Yeah, this is going south real quick.
Yeah, that's going south very quickly.
Yeah. Oh
But
God.
but Denver would be a very interesting choice because Bo Nix is actually a pretty good quarterback.
He is, and Sean Payton's a good coach, and I mean, he turned it around in 2 years.
Yeah, and personally, I like Bo Nix, and I have verbally have said this in the
Yeah.
past. I like Bo Nix,
Yeah,
but
he's proven himself as a rookie. He had a good season. He got the Denver Broncos into the playoffs, and I mean the Broncos, for all intensive purposes, I mean they did deserve to be there. I think. Now, given what they're going to do this season, I mean, yes, they're going to make more cap moves. They're going to be retooling a couple different areas on the team, but I mean, Bo Nix has a very high ceiling, and I mean, I think Denver's a right fit for him.
it very well could. But we'll see what happens. I personally, I don't see Gronk coming back. I think he's just hyping himself up. I mean, he's 35. No one at this age is gonna, unless
Yeah.
he actually keeps himself in shape, I don't see him coming back. And JJ Watt said the same thing recently. He said, if Gronk's gonna come back, I want to come back. And again, JJ Watt is old, injury prone. He's
Right.
gonna end up in Canton. So
Yeah, yeah, and he had cardiac issues, which caused him to leave the game in the first place. So then it's like one of those things. It's like JJ Watt, you have nothing left to prove. You are easily going to the Hall of Fame.
yeah. And the funny thing about JJ Watt is said that if he wants to come back, the only team that he's willing to play for are the Bengals.
Why?
Because he thinks that the Bengals have a better chance to win the Super Bowl than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh Jesus,
Yeah, in the next couple of years. First off, we've already talked about this. Jamar Chase wants $40 million. T.
that ain't
Higgins,
happening.
yeah, T. Higgins just got tagged, and he's not staying.
Right,
And
he's gonna
and you have
leave
the
first chance he gets.
and by the way, I should mention the Bengals also just released Sheldon Rankins the other day.
Yeah, they're yeah they're not in a good spot right
They're
now.
they're in deep shit.
Yeah, they are basically going back to the old days of playing like ass.
Yeah, but speaking of ass, the Jets are in the news again.
Oh Jesus, what did they do this time? Huh.
Well, this is not really them per se, but it's a player on the Jets. And it's being said by NBC that an unidentified Jets player was reportedly targeted and robbed at gunpoint last weekend at Morris County, New Jersey. One witness reported that the suspects got out of a dark colored SUV to rob two individuals in another vehicle.
Oh boy.
Wow, I mean, that's not really a team problem, it's just a personal problem.
Yeah.
So we can't say the Jets are stupid because that has nothing to do with them.
Well, they're stupid anyways. We just there we go. At least we got it in for this week.
Yep. And so the second to last topic is in the ENTFLA, aka Andre Reed's burner account,
Mm,
actually followed me on Instagram.
wow.
Yeah, surprisingly. And you're asking me, what the hell is the Entertainment Football Association going to do for you? Why are they following you of all people? The answer is simple, my amigos. The New York Dragons are back.
And as far as we know, Andre Reed is going to have a big part of it because he's going to be running the show in a lot of ways.
Indeed. And here's the other thing, too. He's the commissioner of the Entertainment Football Association. How
Yeah.
is that possible that Andre Reed, of all people, allowed himself to follow me on Instagram? And I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know that there was gonna be a uniform unveil or anything like that this week. Like, I remember saying a few months ago on the podcast that Andre
Mm,
Reed had a press conference in Long Island, and why he was there, I don't know. But and then, of course, now looking back on it, he was announcing the expansion team for New York, and it turns out it's the Dragons. And if you
there you
remember the
go.
name, and I'm sure
Yep.
you do, is the New York Dragons were in the Arena Football League for 25 years, and
Yes, they
then they
are.
closed out in 2008.
Yep, they are. They were, and good to see him back. That I know that was definitely a big thing down there for a long time. So, good to see that arena football is making a little bit of a comeback. Good to see them. They'll be back. So, be interesting to see
Absolutely.
how they all play out.
Yeah, and there's only four teams, and they're all in the Northern Hemisphere. And their names are the Danbury Diesel, the Fitchburg Heroes, the New Jersey Siffers, which I don't really know what that is,
Right.
and then the New York Dragons.
Okay. So basically, two big market teams, two small market teams. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of them is in Connecticut, and the other one is in Massachusetts. I'm pretty positive.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice of teams.
Yeah, I think they're looking to just start small and then expand. I wish that they were more in the bigger stage, like in the UFL, which I think would have been
Hmm.
great. But again, hence the name Arena Football League,
Yep.
which don't even exist anymore. So to me, the Entertainment Football Association, or the Football Entertain, yeah, I said it right. The Entertainment Football Association is the equivalent of the AFL or the
Hmm.
AAF or whatever the failed organization that was. That didn't last very
Yeah,
long.
I think
Fuck.
I think I think it was the AFL, the Arena Football League.
No, no, no. There was another league. Johnny Manziel was in it. I think it was
Mm.
called the AAF, and it had Johnny Manziel and a bunch of other people in it.
Okay.
And Michael Vick, I think, was a head coach at one point. And
Interesting.
it had like the Orlando Apollo, I think they were called, was one of the teams, and then the San Antonio. I forget what it was. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I do, and actually, yeah, it was yeah, the Alliance of American Football is what it was called.
That's what it was. And they canceled out because they were having financial problems and they
Yep.
couldn't pay the players. The same thing happened in the XFL, and then COVID came and the pandemic shut down the whole world and
Hmm.
they lost money. And then they sold it to Dwayne Johnson and turned it into the UFL.
Yeah, because I remember now I'm thinking about it. They had the San Antonio Commanders, the Birmingham Iron, Salt Lake Stallions were another team that they had. Orlando Apollos was one. So Arizona Hotshots was another one.
Hmm.
So yeah, just thinking about it. Damn, you're making me dig deep today for a couple things. And I was gone for like 30% of this show. So
Well, you're definitely back for the other 50. So
yeah, yeah, or other 70. You mean? So it's all good.
absolutely.
Oh man. Well,
And I was going to say
yeah.
there is actually one more topic that I wanted to
Okay.
discuss, and this one's going to spark a lot of interest.
Okay.
Is apparently according to the fan 695 or 965, yeah, the fan 96.5, the fan, which is a sports radio show in 7,000 Square Road in Mission, Kansas. Okay,
Hmm.
this is a radio show in
Yep.
Kansas. So they reported that the Chiefs are leading towards a move to Kansas and is gaining momentum according to them. And the Chiefs,
Mm.
who currently play at Arrowhead in Kansas City, Missouri, could soon relocate to Kansas City, Kansas. And by the time November rolls around, the ground will most likely have been broken in the state of Kansas if that's the direction the Chiefs decide to move in. And Chiefs President Mark Donovan reportedly said, quote, 100% all in on the Chiefs moving to the Legends in Kansas City, Kansas, because it's, quote, it's a better business deal.
Yeah. So of course, anyone who's followed us for the time that we've been on, which is over 5 years now, everyone knows we've been to Arrowhead. The two of us went there 3 years ago, and
Yes.
which is kind of hard to believe. It's already been 3 years since we went to Arrowhead, but
Well, that was what really started it all with Road to
yeah, that
32.
was like Road to 32 episode 1 basically. But or somewhere around there, but yeah, one of the big things that ended up coming up from that report, and this is also out of Total Pro Sports as well, is that Kansas Governor Laura Kelly signed legislation that will help professional sports teams pay for new stadiums if they decide to change location. So this also would cover the Kansas City Royals if that were to be the case as well. But apparently, from what the report was saying, and this was written by Darrell Lincoln yesterday, is that the Chiefs have always intended to remain at Arrowhead Stadium, but all signs continue to point them playing elsewhere. So essentially, what's happening is that should the Kansas City Chiefs decide to move to Kansas City, Kansas, ground will break around November of 2025. And from what it looks like with how things could work out, Jackson County, which is the current home of the Chiefs and the Royals, has been urged to develop a plan to keep them in Missouri. Now, the Royals have publicly expressed interest in leaving Kauffman Stadium for a new location, and one of the locations they were looking at was downtown Kansas City, Missouri, looking to put a stadium as part of a new development that would include some apartments, offices, mixed use, things like that, which a lot of stadiums are now doing, including potentially Highmark Stadium. They are looking at developing a stadium district right on the old stadium grounds once the new stadium opens, which Orchard Park finally got their head out of their ass and finally decided, yeah, let's let some development happen so people will stay here for other things other than Bills games. Yay! You got out of the fucking Stone Ages.
Gee, I wonder who that also sounds like with UBS Arena, and you've been rewarded to get the All-Star game.
Yes. Yeah, and you might get rewarded with the NFL draft, which, by the way, I am going to make sure that I do go to the draft in Pittsburgh when that comes up. But, anyways, what has happened is that the Missouri House Speaker has been putting pressure on Kansas City leaders to keep the Chiefs and the Royals, and this has been going on for a while. And so if the Chiefs stay at Arrowhead, there are going to be plans to renovate the stadium. Now, what had happened is that the voters in Jackson County, Missouri, rejected a sales tax measure that would have helped fund major renovations at Arrowhead, as well as a new downtown Kansas City, Missouri ballpark for the Royals. And basically, the House Speaker, Jonathan Patterson in that state mentioned that he made it clear inside the state capitol that Jackson County leaders needed to develop a stadium funding plan. And he's basically said the time is running out. It's time for a plan and a course of action. And it has to be something that happens in the county first and then the state. So right now, if the Chiefs move to Kansas City, Kansas, it is possible they may do a retractable dome stadium. So that's one of the things they are looking at. And of course, if they do that, potentially it could house the Super Bowl. That being said, who knows what will happen? But I will say for Arrowhead, that was a good stadium to go to. And it's definitely, I would say, on easily, it should be on everyone's top five to go to. That stadium is
Well,
worth it. Take the stadium tour, experience what it is, and it's worth going there at least once.
yeah, absolutely. But here's a really tricky situation for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I did some digging. And if you remember, and I believe we talked about this
Hmm.
a year ago, where it was said that the Kansas City Chiefs wanted public funding for renovations on Arrowhead, or keep the team in Kansas City in the same lot, or move them to downtown Kansas City. But the issue is Jackson County would not allow them to move to downtown because there's not enough room in the area. So the
Right.
Chiefs then had the audacity to basically threaten the public by saying either give us money or we're gonna move the team. Hello, you guys have money. You won three fucking Super Bowls in 5 years. Grow a pair and then spend your own damn money. Don't ask taxpayer dollars to do it for you. It's bad enough at the time that the economy went under shit. So at that point, if you're gonna have the audacity to threaten the team, you might as well move them over to the state, the state line, honestly,
Hmm.
because the lease for the current stadium ends in 2031, which is not very far away. It's the year 2025.
Yeah, I mean,
You
you're
have
only
six,
you're 5.5 years away right now.
yeah, 5.5 years away from relocation, and you better damn come up with a decision because your lease, Arrowhead was built in the 60s, so it's not like Lambeau where it consistently gets renovations, and the Packers are
Hmm.
never going to move out of there
Oh
unless
yeah, they never will.
No, the Packers are definitely not moving out of there because
Yeah,
they really take good care of that stadium.
yeah, it's like the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame will always be the Hall of Fame, and they'll just keep renovating it. Lambeau is like the shrine of the NFL. That place will never die.
Exactly. Now, unless you build an exact replica and you just call it the new Lambeau Field and it has the exact same thing going on in Lambeau, then okay, you have a shot to do it. But other than that, there's no purpose.
Right.
Their situation is very different compared to Kansas City's. Kansas City's, I think if I remember correctly, the stadium is owned by Jackson County, which is why
As far as I know, it is.
it's owned by the county. This happened to the Islanders when they moved out of the Coliseum the first time. They went
Hmm.
to Brooklyn and they were forced there, and they signed a 25-year deal to
Yeah,
stay in that shithole. And they
yeah.
were
Which
up
you've
there.
been there, and I know you absolutely hated that arena.
That was disgusting. The fact that they set them up like that, I'll never forget it. I never would go back there again. If the and I'm not even going back there ever again.
Hmm.
Even if I'm not a basketball fan, I am not
Right.
going back there. Period. Um, as far as that. They was originally supposed to stay there for 25 years, and that was supposed to be their permanent home. Just because Brooklyn's on the edge of Long Island, it's like pipe down. That's never gonna happen. But the only option at that time was either the Islanders get the land in Elmont, which they did.
Hmm.
Thankfully to Governor Cuomo at the time, he basically said, "Yeah, we'll let the Islanders have this," and they basically said either get the land or you have to move out of the state,
Hmm.
and it would have just been down to the Devils and Rangers.
Yeah, yeah. And and the good thing is it all worked out in the end because basically you guys got a new home in UBS Arena. I know you've been there several times now, and I know you like the arena.
I do. I love it.
Yeah, and I will say I had a chance to see the old barn, which was cool to see, and we've talked about that experience before. Yes, we had the Swedish media incident, which will always go down as one of our historic things on this show,
Yeah.
and how Phil Housley was fired a week after that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
We
I
actually
just
did make some change on this show,
it made quite
or
an impact,
influenced.
honestly.
Yeah, yeah, shit. I mean, hell, WGR noticed it in a lot of ways too.
Oh my God. I got bombarded on X.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh no, it was Twitter at that time. I literally got bombarded. Just
Yep.
fucking hate comments. I
Yeah.
got so much hate for that. And
Oh
I'll
yeah.
never forget that story.
Yeah. I mean that, and then the Swedish media talked to us for a while.
Yeah, because I think it was Rasmus Dahlin's rookie
It
season.
was. It was. Yeah. And that blonde media girl came up to you.
Yeah, she asked me about like, would you guys want to be involved in the paper? I wish I knew what the name of the paper was because it was in Swedish, so we didn't
Right.
really understand it. But they were kind enough, and I think we were a part of it. And they
Hmm.
asked us an opinion about, Darlene and what we think of him and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was good to see. We. So yeah, we have created some history on this show, which is always good.
Absolutely.
Is well for getting Phil Housley fired. It sucked for him. It was great for us, but at the same time, I mean, we've had some good moments, and actually, one of the things I still have here is and unfortunately it's paywalled now, but I still have the printout of our of how we were featured in the Kansas City Star a couple years ago. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Last year during the shooting for the parade in the
yeah,
Super
yeah.
Bowl.
We were one of the very first that actually got the campaign going for Children's Mercy. So although Del Reed got all the credit for it for
You
26
know,
shirts, but
yeah.
whatever.
You know what's really funny is I actually got a letter in the mail today from the Mercy Hospital in Kansas City,
Yeah.
basically begging me, "Can you donate $25? And if you do, we'll give you this, 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 and this." And I said, "Guys, it was one
Hmm.
time. You don't have to constantly send me a letter."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In fact, this has my old one on there, but yeah, I have one too.
Would you look at
So,
that?
yeah. So,
But it's nice
it
of
is
them to
what it
know
is.
that we were a big part of, you know, the
Yeah.
story that revolved around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, thinking about history of the show, yeah, we've definitely had some really funny outtakes on different things. We've bitched and complained about a lot of stuff in sports, which is of course one of the things we love to do. But we've also had a lot of good impact at the same time, and we've been able to make some good situations happen out of different things. And it actually one of the things I remember too, we actually were able to one of the stories I remember actually, and this was actually a couple of years ago now, but one of the episodes I remember most was when we had Sophia and her mom on here, and we were able to be a part of helping her with the GoFundMe and getting that stuff set. And now she's a teenager doing really well, and she's still fighting, but doing way better than when we first met her. And it's and actually I'm going to be seeing them soon, so that'll be fun to do again and meet up. But yeah, we've made some good things happen on this show, so it's we use it for good things also.
There you go.
Damn, I'm getting sentimental today. Towards the end of the show.
Yeah, that's all right. It happens all the time, but
Yeah.
fuck, dude. But no, it's just funny in a way because who would have thought after 5 years, almost to the stage of we're halfway through season five, and we have so many memories to look upon, and
Mhm.
we never thought we'd make it through 5 years. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Let's say 5 years of this show. We've done three major Road to 32 episodes where we've been in three different cities. So we've been to Kansas City, we've been to Cincinnati, we did Seattle this past year. We don't know what's going to come up next season, but we're going to be somewhere again next season.
Yeah, we
Um,
went to Philadelphia, you and
yeah,
I.
we did that. Of course, Mets game in New York City, we did that and a couple times now. Yeah, got. Of course, I have my baseball sitting in my office here, so I've got that
Ah,
still.
yes.
Still have that,
I'm
and
actually
then
learning how to play Meet the Mets on the banjo.
there you go. Good stuff. Yeah, we survived the subway when we were down there.
Oh, fuck me, I remember that.
Yeah, we had some good chicken parm at the place where Tony Soprano ended up beating the shit out of Coco Cogliano at the bar down at
You were
John's. That was good stuff.
you were like a kid in a candy store that day.
Dude, that place was good.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I know. Dude, you and that chicken parm were like best friends forever on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, and by the way, I just found out the Senators have now lost 5 games in a row in this recording, and the Jets have won their 11th.
It sucks to be the Sens.
I don't feel bad for them.
Yeah. And who knows? We might be calling them the Quebec Nordiques coming again soon too if they don't get their arena situation settled.
I'm not that optimistic about their future. I don't think they're staying in Ottawa for very long. I know they tried to brush it off by basically
Mm.
saying, "No, we'll get a deal. We'll get the land of the Breton Flats," but they're not making it easy on themselves.
They've been talking about it for over 10 years now. It's like, come on, Sanders.
Yeah, quite literally. You know who also had a stadium situation, but it got resolved finally was the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, and they're getting their new arena finally, which
Yeah,
is which
and
is
then
good.
yeah. By the way, not for nothing, but I should also mention this very quick because it is an Instagram video I found. I can't play it because of legal rights, but I can
Hmm.
describe it to you. Which is there was a video that I saw this morning where somebody apparently leaked the new intro for the Utah Hockey Club for their introduction before the game.
Hmm.
And supposedly there's a bit of ice and like a frost that goes over like the ice or whatever to cover up the logo or whatever.
Hmm.
And it has like snow and all that. And people think that in terms of that video, what I'm describing, people think that it's a soft introduction to pretty much call them the Mammoth, because that's what people are under the impression of.
Interesting. So that I'm totally cool with that. I think that would be a really nice name for them, and quite honestly, um, looking forward to seeing that. And congrats to Utah, man. You guys have showed up and supported your team, unlike the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah.
You guys have supported your team all year, and you've been selling out the Delta Center, and you guys are getting improvements to the Delta Center. So, you know what? Good to see, and glad to hear everything happening. So that is a big plus.
Yeah. So I actually found the video. It's from a Instagram page called the Fourth Line Podcast, which they're affiliate, not they're not abbreviated with the team, but they're a fan
Mhm.
podcast just like us for the Utah Hockey Club. And the video actually just submerged on Instagram. And they said the new Utah Hockey Club intro is very mammoth friendly. Unless we're introducing a snow outlaw, it seems as though the mammoth could be a soft launch to the fans with the new intro, and the new intro features the streets of Salt Lake freezing over like an Ice Age movie. And the audio also features the sounds that vaguely resemble an elephant trumpet.
Nice.
This is very interesting. So, Ryan Smith, from what that video was being said or the description of the
Mhm.
video, it seems like to me that the people when that 4 game stand where they said, vote for this and then we'll pick a name. I said it a few episodes ago. I said when it was down to the Mammoth, the Outlaws, and the Hockey Club, I said
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of all three names. But if I had to pick one, it was the Mammoth because I think that to me it makes the most sense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and you know what, and I like that team name, the Utah Mammoth. That actually sounds pretty cool. So, good to see that could potentially be the name. And actually, one thing before we round out everything, looking at the Utah Hockey Reddit. It was actually interesting because there's some new information that came out about potential plans for the Delta Center for the renovation that's going to take place. So like a while back, how I talked to you about the Intuit Dome, the new arena that opened for the LA Clippers this past season?
Yeah, what
And
about it?
and you know how they have like the one end that's like completely just a single level from top to bottom, where it's got like a million rows, and it is literally what they call the wall, which is like just nothing but fans,
Yes.
no boxes or nothing like that. Apparently, that may happen at the Delta Center on one end of the ice, where they may build the wall and
Hmm.
then to intimidate the visiting teams. And then what they'll do on the opposite side is apparently they'll add seating, but they're going to add some luxury suites to compensate for what would be lost. So that's one of the ideas that they do have in terms of how they would go ahead and renovate it. But otherwise, I mean, the Delta Center did some big renovations. They have a well, they have an updated video scoreboard where they added some additional screens. They made it higher resolution, and apparently it was like the first like what they call like 4 megapixel arena, which is like completely 4K resolution on everything now. So it's all like the everything is the identical for the ribbon boards, the main boards, everything. So that part's good. But they're also going to reorient a little bit of the building as well. They're going to update some of the entrances and add some additional features to accommodate the fans. So I mean, it's good to see. And that building, it's had a lot of history for the NBA, but it's good to see that the ownership now that Utah actually has decent ownership ever since the takeover from Arizona. At least they're investing in the building and they're investing in the product.
As they should be.
Yeah, exactly. In Arizona, don't bitch about why you lost a hockey team after over 25 years, because guess what? You had three different arenas you played in. You couldn't make it work. One of them you built from the ground up and you got kicked out of because you couldn't pay your rent. And then you got relegated to a 5,000 seat college arena and nobody wanted to see you because we actually showed the ticket prices on air once. $400 a seat.
Which is nuts.
Right, you're pricing out your fans.
So, how much is it, do you think? I mean, I'll check on Game Time, but like, how much do you think it is for a ticket, just at least one single ticket to a Utah Hockey Club game?
Well,
Like, just out of an estimate guess, like, how much do you think that would cost?
you know how cheap it is?
How cheap?
You can get up to two Utah Hockey Club single goal view tickets for $10, and you get a free
That's
hot
not
dog and water.
$10. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, $10. NHL.com.
Well, if you want to look at tickets, here's some ideas for you. So, tomorrow's game against the Minnesota Wild at the Delta Center, their cheapest ticket is $27.
It's not bad. I'd go for it.
Yeah, Saturday, March 1st, against the New Jersey Devils, $50.
Again, it's worth it.
Yep, and then you have, let me see, March 10th, which is that Monday,
Hmm.
Against the Leafs, $33.
Yeah, again, they priced it right for the fans, and they're doing everything to attract the fans. So Arizona wasn't doing this. Utah is doing it. And guess what? They're getting good average attendance.
And you know what? You want to hear a good laugh about this too? You know how
Hmm.
I was just mentioning that the Mammoth is likely the new name of just based on what I was describing about the intro?
Yeah.
It turns out, and I'm not bullshitting either. I just did some research just to look it up. It turns out from Salt Lake City, which is about an hour and 30-minute drive, there actually is a town called Mammoth in the state of Utah.
Nice.
Yeah, imagine that. You name your hockey team potentially after a town in your own state.
Hmm. Yeah. So they're keeping it relevant. And here's one thing that Arizona couldn't say. Utah has sold out every single game in the Delta Center this year.
Which is nuts.
Yeah. And the thing is, because of the obstructions and everything, they can only fit 11,131 in there right now, which is why
Well,
they're going to renovate and add capacity. But
yeah. And
that's over 6,000 more than what you're getting at Mullet Arena every single game.
yeah, and the funny thing is that this whole Utah Mammoth contest thing that came out, this
Hmm.
whole came out on February 3rd when this announcement came out, and it's March 26th, and the end of the month is Friday. So at that point, it would have been over a month at that time of this recording that the three finalist names were announced for Utah Hockey Club.
Right, right. And here's the thing, 11,131 at the Delta Center, that only counts the unobstructed seats. That doesn't include anything that is obstructed. So actually, they're getting more than what they're even reporting.
Quite literally.
Yeah. So good job, Utah. You're supporting your team. We're proud of you here.
Yeah, so I'm remotely convinced at this point it's going to be the Mammoth. Because I'll put it this way, if they were going to go with Utah Outlaws per se,
Hmm.
just based on what I'm describing,
Yeah.
I don't think you would be seeing an outlaw cowboy in the cold.
Right.
It's not Red Dead Redemption.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, but that being said, apparently what's going to happen with the Delta Center, they want to get it at least to 16,200 with the renovations for hockey. So be interesting to see how it all turns out. But you know what, they can do it, and you know what, and even people that have traveled to actually see games at Mullet Arena when they were playing there said Mullet Arena was an embarrassment.
Well, I mean, when you play in a 5,000 seat college hockey arena in that time frame, that's embarrassing on its own.
Hmm.
But I think people are better off going to Utah for a game than in Arizona.
Yeah,
And yet they want to bring back Arizona as an expansion team. You lost the bid. If they were truly bringing the team back, you could have won that bid a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was,
exactly.
with the plans to build a state-of-the-art arena. You had a chance and you blew it, and the people said no.
Exactly. Let's see. You had America West Arena, which is now known as a Footprint Center. That was your first arena. That didn't go well. Then you built Gila River Arena, which was known as Jobbing.com Arena for a while. You couldn't pay your rent there, and that was built specifically for hockey.
Yeah, quite
And it
literally.
was actually in a good area because it's right next door to State Farm Stadium. Well, apparently they said, "Oh, well, we built it in the wrong place. It's not where our fans are from." Well, I don't give a fuck if that's the case. You should have done that research before you built the arena so you knew exactly where to place it, where your fans would be. But guess what? You didn't. So then, of course, you couldn't pay the rent. You actually ended up taking the old Detroit Pistons scoreboard before they shut down the Palace of Auburn Hills, which was still an upgrade for the arena, but because the scoreboard was only 2 years old. But at the same time, it's like if you were to ever get the Arizona Coyotes back, I'd be like, hell no, you're not getting a new arena. You're playing in Gila River Arena, which was already built for you.
Well, it also comes down to the local politicians because they're not going to make it easy. I know that there were new elected officials in the state of Arizona
Hmm.
that recently just got elected, but that doesn't mean anything if you can't make it work.
Exactly, exactly. And here's one of the things, and this is actually a good point that someone brought up about Mullet Arena. If you had a family of four, would you spend 1,200 bucks on a random Tuesday night in February for a meaningless game between the Coyotes and the Penguins, which are out of the playoffs? Hell
Hell
no.
no.
Hell
Hell
no.
no.
No. Or would you drive 2 hours either way, drive down to like, or would you drive a couple hours to Vegas and watch the same game for $200?
I'd rather go to Vegas at that point. I'd rather, you know
Yeah.
what? And to backtrack, I would rather spend my money for less than $20 to go to a Diamondbacks game than see
Yeah.
the Coyotes.
Exactly. I'd rather go see the Phoenix Suns play even with that not costing as much as the Coyotes did. So, yeah,
It's nuts.
yeah, exactly. So Utah's doing it the right way. Glad to see them doing it the right way. And honestly, Salt Lake City's a pretty cool city. I've been there twice.
Quite literally.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I would totally spend some time there. I mean, it's a fun place to be, and I mean, always liked watching the Utah Jazz. Always had like a soft spot for them. Glad to see Utah playing well in hockey now, and they actually have an owner that supports them. They have a fan base that supports them. So it's good to see. And note to Gary Bettman, guess what? Salt Lake City and Quebec City are very similar in terms of the fan bases. You can put a team in Quebec City and start the Battle of Quebec again. That would be good for hockey. It'll draw fans. And yes, you will still have revenue coming in. So stop talking out of your ass and saying that a team can't work in Quebec because it obviously can.
Hmm. You know what's funny too is I'm actually interested how this whole plays out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same here. Same here. Man, I've kind of gone random tonight on certain rants and different things. That's not bad.
Not
So,
bad at all.
yeah, but I was gonna say before we wrap up, were there any other things you want to talk about? Because we've actually been on for an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, you kind of owe it to me from the whole debacle of leaving me hanging to dry.
Yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah, I did come back and give you like an extra like 10 or 20 minutes, so it's all good.
Yeah, but in the meantime, though, as far as that, we should have one more, at least for this season. There's one more Wednesday show coming up, but the trade deadline is not till Friday at 3 p.m. on March 7th.
Hmm. Yep. So that'll be interesting to see what ends up coming out of it, and of course, any major trades that do happen, of course, we'll make sure that we do share that with you guys, and of course, you can keep it on our Facebook page. We'll have that coming up, but other than that, I think we've got a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. Of course, spring training's going on, and with that, baseball season is right around the corner, which is a beautiful thing. So.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, with that being said, you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll wrap up. So of course, as always, we appreciate you spending some time with us. And keep in mind, over the next, we're only going to be on Wednesdays for like another week or two before we make the switch to Thursday nights for the rest of the season. So, this guy's playing beer league hockey.
Which means we will be getting some extra coverage of the NFL draft.
Hmm.
Think
Yes, we
about it.
will. Yes, we will. So it'll be good stuff. And then, oh yeah, and if you're Justin Kia, I wonder how your nuts are feeling after you took the puck to it the other night in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
He actually did finish the game. I will give him credit on that. He wasn't a good player for the Sabres or the Amerks, but and apparently he burned out with a Toledo walleye. And rumor has it he's a middle of the road official at best. But man, taking a puck to the balls and finishing the game, I gotta give you some credit on that.
Well, he won't be able to produce children.
Yeah, his voice was probably high for a while too after that whole thing.
Probably.
Yeah, take a nice little slap shot to the nuts. But
Which always sucks.
yeah, but hey, I'll give him credit. He finished out the game, so that says something.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, but good stuff. So, all right, well, with that being said, it's another week. So of course, we appreciate you joining us as always, and of course, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will